Hello, welcome back to LT Gaming. My name is Tom, and we are two gaming obsessed brothers who spend an unhealthy amount of time hunting for strategy gems. And honestly, I really gotta say, this year Space RTS projects are really heating up. So we got sent this one and I had to share it with you lot, especially after the reaction we saw on Masada. So consider this another wishlist worthy space strategy project to keep an eye on. So we're talking about Commander's Fury, a 4X RTS hybrid, where you're basically running the war machine of an empire, then taking fights in fully 3D real-time space combat. It's currently aimed for a 2027 release, so there is some time yet, but I'm really hoping we see a playtest or demo sometime this year because the ideas here are really cool. And the reason I'm interested, it's not just more ships in space, it's leaning hard into 3D formations, firing arcs, maneuvers, and ships that actually take damage in a way that affects how they fight. Right, okay, let's actually break down what this game actually is and why it might be one to watch. So, at its core, Commander's Fury is a bit of a genre mashup. So I said before, it's a 4X RTS hybrid where you're running the war machine of an empire, and you're actually the one commanding the big set piece fights in this real-time space combat arena. So I think if you're the sort of person who likes the strategic layer, supply lines, fleet operations, shipyards, star bases, planetary defenses, but you also want battles where you're going to have to focus on things like positioning and formation choices, this is very much aiming toward you. It's not just going to be the click enemy and watch your lasers side of things either. They really want to carve out this combat identity that lives in the 3D side of things. So 3D formations, 3D maneuvers, 3D firing arcs, and a damage model where ships will degrade as systems get battered. Which, if this works, is going to make fights feel like messy war stories rather than just a health bar that's going up and down. And I can't pretend we're not all thinking the exact same thing here. Is this the game that brings Homeworld style of RTS back to life? I just played through the Homeworld 1 campaign again, and man, this is still elite. It's a proper all-time great and I love it. Which is why I'm always rooting for anything that sniffs at this vibe. Because let's be real for a second, the follow-up we got in Homeworld 3 didn't really stick the landing. I won't go into all the reasons why I think that, but I do feel the spiritual successor to that lineage is going to come from an indie project like this, so I'm really always looking closely at them. Campaign wise, you're going to start out as a ship captain and work your way up to a Grand Admiral, recruiting and training officers and dispatching them across fleets to carry out operations under your directives. It all sounds very cool. Right, with the foundation set, let's talk a bit about the make or break on this one, how the strategy layer will feed into battles, and whether it will create interesting decisions or not. Now, one of the curiosities of this project which really gets me interested is the 4X meets RTS pitch. I absolutely love when people try to capture this genre. And the game wants a strategic layer to be part which sets up your wins, not just the bit you kind of tolerate between the fights. So on the campaign side, you're going to be dealing with all the war machine stuff. I mentioned before, shipyards, star bases, defenses. So think of it as the whole logistics angle of actually sustaining a push rather than just winning one fight. And it will tie into this people layer as well, recruiting and training officers and commanders, assigning them to fleets and giving out your directives. Then you dispatch them across your territory. So your fleets will be assets with personalities and roles built in, not hopefully just big piles of ships which you blob together and pray for the best. If this gameplay can land, it should mean battles have some sort of context, so it won't just be can I win this, you're thinking can I afford to win this, can I reinforce and hold it afterward, do I have the right fleet and commander in for this fight? And it sounds like the game will lean into multi-fleet engagements too, coming in from different directions, which is exactly where the strategic layer stops being menu work and should hopefully feel like some operational planning instead. Alright, a tiny pit stop here. If you are liking the video, feel free to hit like. It genuinely helps shape the YouTube algorithm and gets indie projects like this a lot more focus. Subscribe if you like what we do, and tell me in the comments, Homeworld nostalgia or new tactics done right. What do you want in a Space RTS? I really want to know. Okay, to touch on what I think is the differentiator when it comes to Space RTS games, how is it going to play in combat? Because the pitch and angle they're going for is very specific. Everything in 3D, from formations, maneuvers, firing arcs, even damage. And the big knock-on effect of this is simple. In theory, you're not choosing what to shoot, you're choosing how to approach your enemy, what angle you want to present, and which face of your ships you're willing to risk or which one's too damaged to risk. And I'm really going to be focused in on this stuff and seeing how it plays out as the game develops, because the moment you got fleets arriving on different vectors and firing arcs that reward your positioning, it will suddenly stop this bigger numbers win and start being right. I want this fleet up here, that one over there, I want this group screening, and I want my big old flagship lined up to absolutely smash something in my way. So hopefully it won't just be spectacle. The ships are going to be fully simulated with damageable hull sections, armor plates, interior components and weapons. So as your systems get absolutely wellied and battered, the ship's stats and abilities will actually degrade. And they also mention vulnerabilities on different vessels, so maybe you've got weak rear army or your belly armor is insufficient. And weapons will have different piercing values, so stuff like torpedoes will punch through thin armor and reach the vital components behind. Now, if they can actually get this to be real in practice, you're going to break enemy ships in the ways you read the battle, react to the battle, and things you can exploit on the fly. And this is exactly the sort of thing that will make Space Combat RTS game feel not like a light show, but more like a proper tactical puzzle. Now, one element I always look for in these hybrid strategy games is whether your fleets will feel like assets and not just disposable stacks. And this is where the commander and officers layer is going to come in. So you'll recruit from an officer pool, train them up, level their skills through experience, and promote people as you climb from captain all the way to Grand Admiral. Crucially, you won't just collect them like they're some sort of football sticker. You're going to assign commanders to fleets and give them orders and directives and dispatch them to carry out operations across your territory. If this can land, it will mean it's properly impactful, because it won't mean a fleet is just 12 ships. It could be your raiding group with an aggressive commander, or someone who's a defensive paragon and he can hold the line. And a character driven layer will invest you to care about whether a battle goes wrong or not. Losing a ship is one thing, losing a trained, experienced commander because you got too greedy will be a different kind of pain. So where am I at with Commander's Fury right now? What am I excited about, and what do I think is maybe areas for concern or what I'm going to watch? What looks promising is they're not just going to sell space battles, they're selling them with some texture. The 3D arena, meaningful angles and a damage model that will support this as well. And if the campaign layer can really feed into this as well, with logistics, operations and commanders shaping what your fleets are capable of, it will be the kind of loop that will keep a strategy game interesting for the long haul. However, what I would need to see on this is two things mainly. Does the strategic layer stay clean and satisfying? Can I actually understand what's going on? Or do certain parts of the game just feel like you have to rush through them to get back to the one you actually like playing? Hybrids live and die on this kind of thing. Secondly, the commanders and directives. Do they meaningfully change how battles play out, or is it just like 2% buff to this and so on? So do I get my superstar iconic commander and he's really going to impact how battles play out in the long haul? Either way, for me this is a guaranteed wishlist watch. It's got all the things I'm looking for and everything that I'm rooting for happening as well. As I said, it is aiming for a 2027 release. I would hope to see a demo or playtest at some point this year, and if they do, I'll happily jump back in and give you a hands-on breakdown. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me what you want from a game like this. I guarantee you the devs will read it, so we can definitely influence what they're working on, what they focus on. Are you looking for a campaign level war machine, or you just want some 3D space battles again that are satisfying in all the good ways? Let me know if there's any other indie Space RTS projects on your radar. This is how I found out about Masada, for example. I'm always up for investigating good projects. Alright guys, that will do it for this one. Bye bye now.